My daughter, stop. Whatever you are doing right now, stop and receive this. I need you to understand something that happened this week. Not last year, not 5 years ago when you were at your lowest. This week, there was a moment, and you may not have even marked it as significant. It might have been a quiet morning when you sat alone and something in you settled. It might have been a night when you lay still and something in your chest released a tension it had been holding for longer than you can remember. It might have been a conversation that ended with you still standing, still choosing who you are, still refusing to negotiate the thing that cannot be negotiated. You may not have known what that moment was, but I did. That moment cracked a ceiling. Not a metaphorical ceiling, a real spiritual ceiling that has been over your bloodline for generations. A covering of limitation that was placed over your family's story long before you were born. A glass barrier that every person before you in your line pressed against, bruised their hands on, and turned away from. And this week, without fanfare, without a ceremony, without anyone witnessing it from the outside, you pressed and it cracked. My daughter, that crack is permanent. What I am opening, no one closes. Type Amen in the comments if you receive this word today. I want to tell you something about your history before I tell you about your future. Because your future only makes full sense when you understand what you have actually been walking through. You were not randomly struggling, my daughter. You were specifically targeted. There are forces in the spirit that are assigned to bloodlines. They are not random. They are not scattered. They study. They gather information. They keep records on families the way intelligence agencies keep files on threats. And your family, your bloodline, the specific line of people that produced you, has been in a file. Not because your family was evil, not because your ancestors made one catastrophic agreement with darkness, but because your bloodline carries something, a specific grace, a specific capacity for breakthrough, a specific anointing that, if it ever fully activates in a single generation, threatens the structures that have kept entire communities limited. The enemy does not build files on bloodlines that pose no threat. He builds files on lines that, if unleashed, change regions. Your family was in that file, and the forces assigned to your line had a methodology. They had studied your mother. They had studied your grandmother before her. They had run the same operations through multiple generations, and they had a success rate that made them confident. They knew what cracks under financial pressure. They knew what retreats under prolonged isolation. They knew which kind of betrayal lands hardest, at what moment in a person's story it breaks the most ground, and how to time the arrival of each element so that the cumulative weight arrives precisely when a person is moving toward something that would change everything. This was not random. My daughter, this was not coincidence. The betrayal that came at that specific moment was not accidental timing. The financial pressure that appeared right when you were gaining momentum was not bad luck. The isolation that crept in and made you feel that you were the only one who could see what you could see was not incidental. It was coordinated. They layered it. First, the relational wound that made you question your judgment. Then the financial squeeze that made the ground feel unstable. Then the isolation that removed the voices that would have helped you hold your footing. And then, in the silence, the whisper. Maybe you got this wrong. Maybe you are asking for too much. Maybe the version of your life that you can see is not actually available to you. My daughter, that whisper was not discernment. That whisper was a tactic. And I need you to understand that with absolute clarity, because the effectiveness of that whisper depended on you not knowing its origin. Now you know. Type, I am the first in the comments, if this is speaking to something you have been carrying. Here is what they calculated would happen. My daughter, I am going to be very honest with you because the truth of this is part of your healing. Statistically, in the spirit, the pressure that was applied to your life had a predicted outcome. The combination of forces that came against you, in the sequence they arrived, at the intensity level they operated, had broken every person before you in your line at the same juncture. Every single one. not because your ancestors were weak. I want you to hear me say that clearly, because I know you love them. Your mother was not weak. Your grandmother was not weak. The people before them who folded when the same pattern hit were not weak. People who lacked faith or lacked love or lacked intelligence, they folded because they did not have what you have. They did not have the accumulation of everything that every generation before them poured into the soil of your family's story. They did not have the compound interest of tears sown that are still in my hands, waiting to be released as harvest in your season. They did not have the specific grace I placed on you for this precise moment. A grace that was not available to them because it was reserved for you. Every generation before you was meant to build something, and they did. Your great-grandmother built endurance. Your grandmother built faith, even in the narrow places. Your mother built a love for me that she passed to you, even when her own circumstances were hard. Each of them added something to the account that I then placed in your hands. And then the same pattern came for you, at the same point in the trajectory, right before the door opened. Right when the breakthrough was close enough that the enemy could see it and could not afford to let you step through. And this time, something different happened. You held. I watched you. I watched every moment of it. I watched you in the moments when holding felt like the least rational choice. I watched you when everything in your circumstances was pointing toward letting go of the standard, toward accepting the counterfeit, toward making peace with a version of your life that was smaller than what I spoke over you before you were born. I watched you when you were exhausted, and when the people who should have been standing with you were not. And I watched you not accept the counterfeit. My daughter, do you understand what that means? You did not lower the standard. When the counterfeit came dressed in just enough of the real thing to be convincing, you held still long enough to let discernment do its work, and you said no. Not the loud, dramatic no that makes a good story, the quiet, private no. The no that cost you something. The no that came at a price in loneliness and in uncertainty, and in standing in a place where you could not fully explain to anyone else why you were still holding. You held the line that every person before you in your bloodline released at this exact point, and heaven marked that moment. Type I held in the comments, say it. You held when you were supposed to fold. Now I need to speak to you about the person who left. My daughter, I know you have thoughts about this. I know there is a part of you that has examined the leaving from every angle. And there is something I want you to understand about what happened in the spirit when that person made their calculation and walked out of the position I had placed them in. They left right before the breakthrough. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Not as information designed to produce bitterness. I am not giving you this so you can feel superior or so you can spend energy on what they lost. I am giving you this so you can close the door completely, so you can stop leaving a part of your energy oriented toward a chapter that is finished. The person who left made a calculation. They weighed what they were receiving against what it was costing them. They could see the pressure you were under. They could see the narrowness of the place. And in that calculation, they chose wrong, not because they are a terrible person, but because they did not have the eyes to see what was actually happening in the spirit. They saw the circumstances, and they made a natural mind decision about whether the return justified the investment, and they decided it did not, and they left right before. Now they are watching from a distance, and I want you to understand what they are experiencing, not so you can take satisfaction in their discomfort, but because understanding their internal state fully releases you from any remaining pull in their direction. What they chose instead of you has a hollowness to it. They went to something that was more comfortable, something that required less of them, something that was easier to hold. And it is easy, it is comfortable, but there is an absence in it that they cannot name and cannot locate and cannot fill. Because what I placed between you and them, what I built in that connection as a vehicle for both of your breakthroughs, cannot be replicated in a counterfeit. The specific grace that was present in what I was building through that relationship is absent in what they chose instead. And they cannot stop thinking about you, not because they are pining in a romantic way that you need to respond to. My daughter, hear me. This is not an invitation to reopen that door. But in their private moments, when it is quiet, they return to you. They return to what you had. They return to the version of themselves that existed in proximity to where I was moving. And there is a grief in them about the calculation they made that they do not fully know what to do with. They are experiencing seller's remorse. They traded something of significant eternal and natural value for something comfortable. And they know, in the deep place, that they chose wrong. I am showing you this so you can close the door. Not in anger, not in triumph, but with the full understanding that what was there was real, that the real thing is staying with you and moving forward with you, and that the chapter with that person is complete. Close it cleanly. Wish them well in your heart, and face forward. Type "They watched me win" in the comments if you are ready to close that door. Now, my daughter, I want to tell you the most significant thing I am going to say today. You are the first. Not the first in a superficial sense. Not the first to succeed in some external metric. The first in the truest sense. The first in your bloodline to hold the line at this level of pressure, at this specific juncture, in this precise test. The same pressure that came for you has come for every generation before you. The same pattern, calibrated each time to the specific vulnerabilities of each person, arrived at the same point in the trajectory of each member of your line. Right before the door, right at the threshold every single time. And every single time before you, the generation in that place released what they were holding. Your great-grandparent, standing at their threshold, facing a version of this same wall, felt the same pressure and let go. Not because they did not love God, not because they had no faith, but because they were carrying the weight of every unresolved wound from the generations before them, and there was no one in their line who had held it either. And the compound weight of accumulated unfulfilled promises and unanswered prayers and deferred hopes became more than they could carry at the last moment. Then it came for your grandparent, and your grandparent held for a long time. But the same point arrived, the same convergence of relational and financial and identity pressure, and they too released it, and carried the grief of that release for the rest of their days. That sense of something missed, something they almost stepped into, something that was right there. Then it came for your parent, and the story repeated. My daughter, the current of pain that has run through your bloodline for generations, that specific circuit of limitation that powered itself on repeated release at the last threshold, arrived at you and stopped. Not because you are superhuman, not because you are better than the people who came before you, but because every tear they sowed that went into my hands, every prayer they prayed that I filed as a deposit, every act of faith in the narrowest places that they performed without seeing the fruit, accumulated, and I placed the compound return of all of it in your account. You are the circuit breaker, the current that ran from generation to generation, powering cycles of almost, and not quite and close but not there, stops at you. It does not pass forward. It does not get to reach your children, physical or spiritual. It ends here. The pattern is broken at your generation, in your body, in your story. This is Deuteronomy 7-9, made real in your bloodline. I am the faithful God who keeps my covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. The pattern that ran backward through your line is being reversed. The covenant is releasing forward from you. Type "It stops with me" in the comments if you receive this. The generational pattern ends here. My daughter, I need to speak to you about the loneliness, because I know it was real and I know it was one of the hardest parts, and I do not want to minimize it or skip past it as though it was simply a price that was easily paid. The loneliness was not incidental. The loneliness was structural. It was the necessary cost of being the first. Being the first means there is no one ahead of you on the path. No one who can say, I walked this exact road, and I came out the other side, and here is what the terrain looks like, and here is where it gets harder, and here is where it opens. No one who has your specific combination of calling and history and bloodline and grace and assignment, who can look you in the eyes and say, I know this place. I was here. You were drawing the map while walking the territory. Every step you took in the dark, you were also inscribing the path so that someone who comes after you could walk it in better light. You were laying down a road in your tears. You were making something passable that was not passable before you. And that work is done in a particular kind of solitude that is unlike ordinary loneliness. It is not the loneliness of being unloved. I love you. I have loved you from before the foundation of the world. It is not the loneliness of being unseen. I saw every step. I saw every night. I counted every tear, my daughter, as Psalm 126:5 says, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." Every tear you sowed in the walking of this unmapped road is in my hands. Not one of them fell to the ground without my attention. But the structural loneliness of the pioneer, the specific ache of moving forward without a witness who has been where you are going, that was real, and that was the price of what you were doing. I want you to know why I am telling you this. Because there are people coming after you who will walk your road, and they will have something you did not have. They will have a witness. They will have someone who went before them, who cracked the ceiling, who broke the circuit, who laid the road in tears, who held at the last threshold and did not release. They will have you, your children, whether they are your physical children or the people I bring into your life as spiritual daughters, will start where you end. They will not start at zero. They will not start at the foot of the wall that you spent years pressing against. They will start on the other side of it because you are the one who pressed through. The road you built in tears, they will walk in relative light. The ceiling you cracked with your faithfulness will be open air for them. The generational current of limitation that you interrupted will simply not exist in their story the way it existed in yours. They will face their own thresholds, their own pressures, their own specific tests. But this particular one, the one that has ended every generation before it could reach the door, will not be there for them. Because you were here, because you held, because you were the first. Type "the loneliness was the price" in the comments if this is speaking to you. My daughter, I want to pause here and say something that does not fit neatly into the theology of breakthrough and bloodline and destiny. But that is just as true and just as important. You are a person who has been doing something enormous. And you have been doing it while still living your daily life, while still navigating work and relationships and the ordinary demands of being a human being. The spiritual weight of what you have been carrying did not pause your life. You carried it while your life continued. And that is not a small thing. That is not nothing. I see the exhaustion in you, the specific kind of exhaustion that comes from sustained faithfulness in the absence of the fruit that faithfulness was supposed to produce by now. The weariness of holding something you cannot see or prove or show to anyone else. The kind of tired that is not solved by rest, but that can only be resolved by arrival. By the thing you have been holding toward, actually arriving, my daughter. You are close. I want to speak to you about what you can do right now, in this moment of receiving this word, as an act of faith. The sowing you do right now, in the middle of receiving the revelation that you are the circuit breaker, that you are the one who ends the generational pattern, carries a specific weight. Sowing a seed right now is a declaration that the spirit of lack that was part of the pattern assigned to your bloodline does not get to be the last word in your financial story. It is a declaration that the cycle of almost and not quite that ran through your line financially ended with you, and that you are moving in abundance consciousness even before the full harvest is visible in your circumstances. If you want to sow a seed today, scan the QR code on screen right now or visit the link in the description below. Every gift is an act of faith that I see and that I honor. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. Press the button. This is a space I am using to speak directly to the daughters who are carrying what you are carrying. And I want to make sure you receive everything I have for you here. Type "sowing in faith" in the comments if you are stepping into what God is doing. Now, my daughter, let me tell you what changes. Because you need to understand this. The breakthrough is not only about what arrives, it is also about what leaves. It is about what is legally revoked. And there are things that operated in your life that no longer have legal right to be there. The permission structure has changed. There were patterns that had permission to operate in your life because they were operating in the pattern of your bloodline. They were grandfathered in, not by your agreement, but by the accumulated agreements and releases and defaults of the generations before you. Those permissions existed because the circuit was intact, because the pattern was unbroken, because the current was still running. My daughter, the circuit is broken now. And when the circuit breaks, the permissions that were granted based on the circuit being intact are revoked. The pattern of being close to good things and having them taken. You know this pattern. You have lived inside it. You built momentum, and then something came and disrupted it. You got close to a financial breakthrough, and then an unexpected expense appeared. You built a meaningful connection, and then something undermined it. You moved towards something good, and the last 100 yards were always where the disruption arrived. That pattern no longer has legal right to your future. The pattern of loving people who cannot love you back at the same level. The pattern of giving fully into connections where the depth of investment was not matched. The pattern of your capacity for love and loyalty and depth exceeding what the people around you could reciprocate. The specific loneliness of being more available, more present, more faithful in relationships than the other person could be. That pattern no longer has legal right to your future. The pattern of the ceiling, the specific limitation that appeared whenever you were approaching the level that your bloodline had never breached. The way opportunities would materialize and then dissolve. The way doors would open and then close before you could step through. The invisible boundary that seemed to exist at a certain altitude in your life that you kept approaching and being turned back from. That boundary has been removed. Not reduced. Removed, my daughter. Isaiah 61:7 says, "Instead of your shame you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace you will rejoice in your inheritance. And so you will inherit a double portion in your land, and everlasting joy will be yours." The double portion is not simply more of what you had. It is restoration of everything the pattern took from you, given back in double, as a declaration that the debt the pattern owes your bloodline is being paid in full. What is coming is not just forward. Part of it is backward, restoring what was taken across generations, not only in your own story, but in the story of your line. Now I want to tell you what to watch for. My daughter, I am going to give you signs of the movement that has already begun, not predictions that depend on your performance or your faithfulness, not conditional promises. Signs of what I am already doing that you can watch for in the next 21 days. The first sign will involve finances. Something will shift unexpectedly. It may look small when it arrives. The number may not be dramatic. The circumstance may seem routine or coincidental. But when it happens, I want you to mark it, because it is not routine and it is not coincidental. It is the first visible signal that the restoration that began in the spirit is beginning to manifest in the natural. It is the signal that the double portion is in motion. Do not dismiss it because it is not the final form of the full harvest. It is the signal. The second sign will involve a person, someone who has been on the outer edges of your life, someone who has been kept at a distance, not by hostility, but by the tightness of the season you were in, will reach out. A connection that has been at arm's length while you were in the narrow place. The timing of the reach will be notable, and the quality of the conversation or the reconnection will have something in it that belongs to the new season rather than the old one. This person is a sign that your network, the community of people who belong to the next chapter of your life, is beginning to assemble. The third sign will be about love. My daughter, I know this is the area where you have the most caution. I know the guarded places in your heart around this, and I am going to speak directly into the area that is the most tender. There is a sign coming about love, and when it comes, you will recognize it by one quality above all others: clarity. There will be no confusion, no decoding required, no reading between lines or trying to interpret mixed signals or wondering what something means. The sign about love that is coming will have a cleanness to it. A door that opens the way doors are supposed to open. No pressure, no performance, no confusion. Clarity. That clarity is itself the sign, because the pattern that made love in your life consistently murky and hard to read is broken, and what replaces it opens cleanly. Type "I see the signs" in the comments if you are watching for these. My daughter, I need to speak to one more part of you before we close. The part that is listening to all of this and feels something stir but then pulls back. The part that does not fully let the word land because it is waiting for the catch. The part that has been trained by repeated disappointment to process good news with one hand holding it and one hand ready to release it. I know that part. I understand how it was formed. It was not formed in weakness. It was formed in intelligence, in the wisdom that accumulated through experience, in the self-protection that your nervous system developed as a rational response to living inside a pattern where close was always followed by not quite, where the promising thing always had an asterisk, where leaning fully into hope led to specific kinds of pain that are hard to recover from. My daughter, the guarded hope was not a failure of faith. It was the most honest response available to you inside the conditions you were living in, and I honored the faith you maintained even through it. The faith that kept you holding even when holding at full hope felt too costly. The quiet, tired faith that said, "I do not know, but I am still here." That faith was real. I received it as real. But here is what I need you to hear now. The conditions have changed. The conditions that made guarded hope the wisest available posture have changed. The pattern that made full lean into good news dangerous is broken. The permissions that gave the asterisk its power have been revoked. You are not in the same territory you were in when the guarding was necessary. You are in new territory. And in this new territory, the same guarding that protected you in the old terrain will work against you. Because the new territory requires full reception. It requires full lean, not naive, lean, not blind leap, not the suspension of discernment, but full opening, full receiving. The door that opens cleanly requires you to walk through it cleanly, without one hand on the frame, without the foot that stays on the threshold, just in case. I am asking you to let this land, not to manage it, not to process it at a safe distance, to let the full weight of what I am telling you today land in your body, in your heart, in the deepest part of you that has been waiting for this for longer than you can name. You are not about to be disappointed again. You are about to arrive. Type "My bloodline is healed" in the comments as a declaration over everything that came before you and everything that comes after. My daughter, we are at the end, and I want to use these final words carefully, because what I say at the close is what stays with you. You did not just survive what was assigned to your bloodline. Survival would have been enough. Survival would have been honorable. Survival would have been something I was proud of. But my daughter, you did not just survive, you changed the season. Not only for yourself, for everyone in your line who comes after you, for the children who will carry your name or carry your prayers. For the spiritual daughters I will bring into your life, who will look at you and see a road that someone walked before them. For the community I am building around you in this next chapter, who will be different because you were in it. You changed the season for all of them by holding at the moment, every generation before you released. This is what Isaiah 43:2 promised, and what you lived when you passed through the waters. I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze you passed through. You were not swept away. The fire did not consume you. Not because the fire was not real, it was real. Not because the water was not deep, it was deep. But because I was with you and my presence in the passage, with you meant that the passage did not end you. The forces that were assigned to your bloodline are not reorganizing. I want you to understand that. There is no regrouping strategy. There is no backup plan. The ceiling is cracked, and what I open does not close. The circuit is broken, and the current cannot restore itself. The permissions are revoked, and revoked permissions do not quietly reinstate. The ground you have taken is yours, not provisionally, not pending your continued performance. Permanently, your ground is held. Type "the curse ends here" in the comments, not as a wish, as a fact. My daughter, I need you to go forward from this moment knowing what you are, not what you are aspiring to become, not what you are hoping will be confirmed in the signs. What you already are, right now, in this moment, on this ordinary day that is not ordinary at all. You are the first. You are the one who cracked the ceiling. You are the circuit breaker. You are the one who held at the last threshold. You are the pioneer who drew the map in tears. You are the road that generations behind you will walk. You are the one who changed the season for everyone in your line by refusing to release what you were holding. You are the one the forces assigned to your bloodline got the calculation about completely wrong. And now the full weight of what was sown in tears across your entire bloodline, every prayer, every act of faith in impossible circumstances, every quiet choice to hold the standard, every tear that fell in the narrow places and landed in my hands as a seed, is coming back to you as harvest. Not trickle, harvest. The way Psalm 126:5 promised, those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. The songs of joy are beginning. The harvest is in motion. The season has changed. Type "it is done" in the comments if you receive this completely. I love you. I am proud of you. Go.